So Friendship Tours started in 1977, which means in 2027 will be our 50th year, which is kind of exciting. That's the golden year. We have a lot of golden trips, so to say, for this year. And the first big one we're launching is the Douro River, which of course is the River of Gold. So we're really excited to be able to offer that and show that to everybody. So joining me tonight on the call, of course, is Donna, head of our ship shop, and we're always
Hi,
excited
everyone.
to have Donna with us. And then Heidi from the office, and Heidi will be actually traveling on this trip with me, leading it. And then we have Stephen from AMA, and we are super excited to have him as an expert on this trip.
One
I
night,
know
one night. Good evening.
we like to always kind of give a
One night, one
recap.
night. Good evening.
Ooh, did anyone else hear that?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Might be doing a translation in
Nope.
my ear.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yes. So this is going to be
Oh, great.
something that you see on our logo, which is going to be our 50th year. And you'll see that on all kinds of different events. For those not familiar with Friendship, it was actually started by my mother in 1977. Her name was Lois. She had a love for travel. It started super early. I know most people aren't old enough to remember 1957, but if you are, in 1957, she and her Girl Scout troop got this crazy idea they could raise money and basically take their troop to Europe. And that's exactly what happened. So after years worth of raising, she was always pretty entrepreneurial. They literally brought the entire troop to Europe, 13 different countries. And 2 months later, she had fallen in love with travel, with language, with topography, but more than anything, she built friendships that lasted her lifetime. And that friendship through shared experience or friendship through travel is actually where Friendship Tours gets its name. And it has really been at the heart of everything we do. We truly believe that travel is better when it's a shared experience. And that certainly will be true with this exciting trip, which is going to be on the Douro. In 1977, that's me, and of course, the other owner, Amy. And I will give you a little highlight. Amy has actually done this trip. She took it in December to find the perfect trip for what we wanted to launch our golden year with. So we'll talk more about that. But that's Amy and I back in 1977. I'm the cute one. I know you don't want to tell her that
Yes, you
because
are,
she's not
Brett.
here. Yes. But in addition to us, we have the wonderful staff here at Friendship Tours. So in our office in Bloomfield, there's actually 10 of us here, plus all our great tour directors that are out on the road. And they are the ones that really keep everything together on the road, and all of our staff making sure these trips are planned perfectly for everybody so that you can really go and explore and have a great time. We believe if you have the will and the want to go and travel the world to Europe or other places, we want to give you that opportunity and make it real simple and basically do all the planning so you get to go and enjoy. And that's kind of what brings us to this wonderful tour. And I'll ask Donna just to jump in here and talk a little bit about what we have planned for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate that. So I have the honor of selecting our annual calendar of cruises every year. So I feel very powerful. And, a lot of people will email me and say, "Hey, have you ever, thinking about doing this?" And it was like one consistent request after another the last couple of years to do a Douro River cruise. So very excited that we were able to add it to our calendar for 2027, our big year. This year at Friendship, I'll be celebrating my 40th anniversary. So I've been doing this with Brett and Amy for quite a long time and super excited about it. And so, together with AMA, we wanted to present this cruise, which is a land and cruise program. So this is going to be one of our escorted cruises, which means we have an escort with you the entire time from Friendship Tours, and that will be Brett, our presidential cruise, as we're calling it for 2027, as he mentioned, and Heidi will be joining him, and they will be leading this group. So they will be with you for the flights as well as your land program and your cruise. And so, just a brief synopsis before we get into the itinerary. It will be in October, as you can see, October 25th to November 5th. It will be a 3-night Lisbon pre stay prior to your cruise with sightseeing included, and then a 7-night cruise round trip Porto on the Douro River. So, what we'll be doing is, as we always do on our escorted cruises, we will be providing transportation to the airport. And Logan Airport in Boston is our anticipated gateway. And so flights will be included to Lisbon and back from Porto. And we include the transportation, like I said, to Logan. The flight is included in the price as well. And if you don't have the flyer, we can tell you at the end where to get it, or I can simply email it to you. Just let me know. But it is a day-by-day itinerary. We're going to go through that, but I can get you more materials if you need it. But for now, I am opening my Portuguese wine, which I don't know if you can see through the camera, but this is a Vinho Verde. And this I hear is like the wine of choice in Portugal, at least one of them. And so it is actually a white wine. And so I thought fitting, and I think Steve has some too, but cheers to everyone. And this trip has a lot of wine features in it. So I thought it was fitting for happy hour to have a little wine with you. So, with that said, I'd like to introduce
Here's
Steve
everybody.
Batjiaka from AMA Waterways. He has been with them for 9 years. And we want to say thank you for joining us, Steve. So take it away.
Good evening, but we've lost I don't
Oh, we
see
lost the screen
presentation
sharing.
yet. Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
Good evening, but we've lost
There it
I don't
is.
see the
Okay,
presentation there. Yeah, so
perfect.
Okay, so I'll start here and we'll go through the presentation now. So you have a total of 12 days.
okay, so I'll go
First,
through.
I want to say
I'll
thank
start
you for
here,
having me,
and
thank
we'll
you
go through the
for
presentation now.
choosing one of
So
our
you have a
most
total of
popular
12 days.
itineraries. We have
First, I
3
want to
ships
say thank you
currently
for having
on
me,
the
and
Douro
thank you
River,
for
and
choosing
it
one of our
is
most popular
currently our
itineraries.
#1
We have 3
selling
ships currently
river cruise destination.
on the Douro River,
We sell
and it is
throughout Europe
currently
and
our
other
number 1
parts of the
selling
world. And I love the
river
time that
cruise
you've chosen
destination. We
here.
sell.
My
We
2
sell throughout
favorite
Europe and
months
other parts of the
to
world. And I love
river
the time that
cruise
you've
in
chosen
Europe
here.
are
My 2
October
favorite
and
months too.
May, and this is the end of October into the early part of November. Beautiful time of year.
River cruise in Europe
Fall,
are
it's
October,
it's gorgeous. It's delightful.
October and
So
May.
you
Then
have you do a 3
and
night
this is the end of
pre
October
with
into the early
us.
part of November.
Our
Beautiful
cruise
time of year.
manager will
Fall.
meet
It's
everybody
gorgeous.
and
It's
be with
delightful.
you at
So
the
you have
hotel. We'll meet you
you're
at the
going to do a
airport. We'll bring
3-night
you to
pre
the
with us.
hotel
Our
in
cruise manager
Lisboa,
will meet
Lisbon.
everybody and be with
You'll
you at the
spend
hotel.
3 days
We'll
doing
meet you at the airport.
sightseeing,
We'll bring you to
and
the
the
hotel
cruise manager will be
in
available to you if you need
Lisboa,
anything
Lisbon.
additional
You'll
while
spend
you're
3
with
days
us
doing sights,
in Lisbon, and
songs,
then we will make our way to the
seeing,
ship. We will
and
also
the cruise
visit
manager will be available to you if you need anything
Sintra,
additional
the
while you're
presidential
with us in
palace in
Lisbon.
Sintra.
And then
It's a
we will
beautiful
make our way to the
drive
ship. We will also
from
visit
Lisbon to Porto,
Sintra,
and
the
in
presidential
Porto,
palace in
we will
Sintra. It's a
begin the actual
beautiful drive
7-night river
from
cruise.
Lisbon to Porto.
What's included?
And in Porto, we will begin the
Local
actual
beers,
7-night river cruise.
local white wines, red wines, be included
What's
with lunch
included?
and
Local
dinner.
beers,
Also
local white
included with
wines,
what
red
we call
wines.
the
I'll
happy
be
hour, which
included
we
with
call our
lunch and
sip
dinner.
and sail, and all of your meals are included. Most of your meals on board, there'll be a
Also
couple of
included
days
with what we call the
where we
happy
look
hour,
at, and
which
it'll
we
be in
call
the
our sip and
presentation where
sail,
we
and
eat
all of
off
your
the
meals
ship.
are
So
included.
it's a very
Most of your meals on board, there will be a couple of
experiential
days where we look at, and it'll
itinerary.
be
And
in the
if anybody on the
presentation,
call has been
where
on
we're
a
eating off the
European
ship.
river cruise,
And
maybe
so
on
it's
the
a very
Danube or the Rhine or
experiential
the Rhone,
itinerary.
something like that, this is very different.
And
It's
if
very
anybody on the
unique.
call has been
I
on a
think it's one
European
of the
river
reasons
cruise,
it drives the
maybe on the
popularity of
Danube
Portugal
or
and
the
the
Rhine
Douro.
or the
There's a
Rhones,
lot of
something like
daytime
that,
sailing
this
on
is
this
very different. It's very
itinerary.
unique. I
It's a
think it's one of the
very
reasons it drives the
rural
popularity of
and sort of
Portugal and the
laid
Douro.
back river,
There's a
lazy
lot of
river.
daytime sailing on this
Both
itinerary.
sides,
It's a
both
very
banks of
rural
the
and sort
river
of
are steeped with vineyards.
laid back river, lazy river, and
It's
it's
a
both sides,
very
both
different
banks of the river
experience, not
are
better or
steeped
worse,
with
just a
vineyards.
different experience than what you'd see on the Danube or the
And
Rhine or
it's
some
just
of
a
these
very
other
different experience,
European
not
rivers.
better
I
or
think it's
worse,
what
just a different
drives
experience.
the
Now,
popularity
what
right
you'd
now.
see on the Danube or the
We're trying to
Rhino,
keep up.
some of these
The
other
ship that you're
European
sailing on,
rivers,
the AMA
I
Sintra,
think
is
it's what
just a year
drives
old now.
the
Our third
popularity
ship,
right now.
and we're
We're trying to keep up.
actually already
The
considering
ship
building
that
a
you're
4th ship
sailing on,
because it's
the AMA
so
Sintra,
popular,
is just
and
a year
we
old
are
now.
full
Our third
most of the
ship,
year.
and we're
So
actually already
we
considering
can look
building
at
a
the
4th
next
ship
slide here.
because it's so popular, and we are full most of the year. So
Or am I doing
we
that?
can look at the next slide here. Or am I doing that?
Let's see. There we go. Here's the AMA Sintra.
Yeah, let's see. There we
I
go.
mentioned that she was debuted last year. Our third ship in our fleet of ships.
Here's the
a
AMA
small
Sintra.
fleet of ships on the Douro River. The ship only holds
I mentioned that
102
she was
guests.
debuted last year.
So
Our third
typically
ship in
compared
our
to
fleet of
other
ships, our
in
small
Europe
fleet of
of
ships
about
on the Douro River.
156 or
The ship only
160,
holds
it's a
102 guests,
smaller ship.
compared to our other ships in
This
Europe
is
of about
this is the
156 or
video.
160. It's a smaller ship. This is the video. This video.
Are you ready for a river cruise experience?
There you go. Hope it's not compressed.
Join AMA Waterways on a cruise through the hearts of Portugal on the stunning and unique Douro River.
Our 7-night Douro River itineraries, the enticing Douro and flavors of Portugal and Spain, offer many enriching and memorable experiences. Along the way, you can sip on renowned wines in the sun-kissed vineyards of Port Country and delight in the rich musical traditions of the region, such as fado and flamenco, with onboard performances. In Porto, the historic city of bridges, you are invited to explore a metropolis that never sleeps on a guided tour of the city's landmarks. Discover its historic quarter, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the beautiful São Bento railway station. With AMA Waterways, you will also visit Pinhão in the heart of Port Wine country. Here, you will find the 19th century Pinhão railway station adorned with hand-painted tiles depicting Pinhão's grape harvest. The historic city of Peso da Régua lies at the center of Portugal's port wine growing region. This city is your gateway to Lamego, where you will see the Santuário da Nossa Senhora dos Remédios on a city tour, or climb the beautiful tile-lined steps of the Holy Staircase on a guided hike. We will also venture to Castelo Rodrigo, where you can marvel at the spectacular views of the surrounding area during your walking tour through its medieval streets. You can also enjoy a tasting of local almonds, cheese, and bread. Throughout your river cruise, you will also be invited to dine on shore at nearby quintas or wine estates, where you will savor the flavors of Portugal with meals prepared by local chefs. Wine lovers have the opportunity to sample a variety of regions' renowned wines, including its famed port wines, with included tastings.
We hope to welcome you on board soon, so that you may explore the beauty of the Douro River in Portugal for yourself. Até breve.
Stephen, that sounds amazing.
That was a great, I hope that didn't get compressed for anybody, but that's a really nice video giving
Okay,
you a
that was
nice
a great
overview. And of course, that's the only
I hope that didn't get
Portuguese
compressed for
cruise
anybody.
manager that I don't know
But that is
personally. I know
what,
a
that's a
couple of the
really
other
nice
guys over
video
there.
giving you a nice overview.
But
And of course,
gave a
that's the
really
only
good
Portuguese cruise manager
overview,
that
a
I
feel
don't know
of the
personally.
culture and the wines
I
and
know a
things
couple
like
of the
that,
other
what we're
guys over
doing
there.
on and off the ship.
But it gave a really good
And
overview,
I
a
can't
feel of the culture and the
just-
wines
I'm
and
very
things like
excited
that,
for all of you. I do
and
a
what
lot
we're
of
doing
these
on and off the
presentations
ship.
because again, it is
And I can't just,
currently our most
I'm very
popular
excited for all of you.
itinerary. So
I
there's
do a lot
of
of these
calls into doing
presentations because,
groups,
again, it is
and
currently our
cruise
most
ship charters
popular
and things like
itinerary,
that.
so
So this
there's a
is a
lot of
very
call for doing
interesting
groups.
itinerary. So here's the 3 nights in Lisbon.
And full ship charters and things
You
like that.
again,
So
we
this is a
meet-
very
we will-
interesting
we meet all of
itinerary.
our
So
guests
here's the
at
3 nights in
airport.
Lisbon.
You'll come through customs.
You again, we
You'll
meet.
see
We meet all
somebody
of our
with,
guests at the airport. You'll come
maybe more
through.
than one
Customs,
person
you'll see somebody
with
with.
the logo jacket and the badge on. We collect everybody. We'll bring
Maybe
you
more
to the
than one person
hotel.
with the
You
logo
have
jacket and the badge on.
sightseeing,
We collect everybody.
on
We'll bring you
day
to the hotel.
2,
You
3,
have sightseeing
and 4.
on day 2,
And
3.
we also, and I think this is really important to note, I like the fact that the cruise manager is with our guests.
And 4,
whenever
and we
do
also,
pre and post,
and I think this
because
is
the
really
cruise
important to
manager
note.
then
I
will
like the
take
fact that the
either a
cruise manager is
hospitality
with our
desk or a
guests whenever we
hospitality
do
room
pre and posts,
in the
because the cruise
hotel,
manager
usually
then
in the
will take
lobby or
either a
right off the
hospitality
lobby.
desk or a
And if
hospitality
people
room.
want to do
In the
something
hotel,
additional,
usually
do
in the
something
lobby
at
or right
night,
off
or
the
you're
lobby.
looking for, I don't know, theater tickets.
And if people want to do
restaurant
something additional or do
recommendations,
something at night,
our
or
guide
you're
is
looking
there,
for,
our CM cruise manager is
I
there
don't know,
to help you all out. Of course,
theater
you'll also
tickets
be
or restaurant
traveling,
recommendations, or our guide
with
is
Brett
there.
and Heidi
Our
as well.
CM
Not to
cruise
put the onus
manager
on
is there
them, but
to help you
it's
all
good
out.
to have
Of course, you'll also
somebody
be
leading the
traveling
group as well. Sorry,
with Brett and Heidi as well.
So,
Not to put the onus
but
on them,
we are
but it's good to
prepared for
have.
any questions that you have when you're there. And the Bellum Tower
But we are
is a
prepared for
beautiful
any
site.
questions that you have
We
when you're
have
there. And the
Geronimo's
Bellum Tower is a beautiful
Monastery,
site.
in case you haven't already figured out by some of the slides.
And we have Geronimo's
Portugal is one
Monastery,
of the
in
most
case you
Catholic
haven't already
countries
figured out
in
by some
Europe,
of the
maybe
slides.
only behind Italy, I would say. Maybe Italy and Spain.
Portugal is one of the most
This is
Catholic
the
countries.
monument
In
to all
Europe, maybe
the
only behind Italy, I would
early
say.
explorers.
Maybe Italy and Spain.
Portugal is known
This is the monument to
back
all
in,
the early
Renaissance
explorers.
days. They
Portugal
had
is known
a
in
lot of
the
explorers,
back
like the
in
Spaniards as well, and the Dutch explorers. And
Renaissance
also
days.
are
They
very
had a
proud
lot of
their
explorers,
fishing
like the
heritage.
Spaniards as
I'm
well,
up here in Massachusetts. I'm
and the
not
Dutch
that
explorers.
far from New Bedford.
And they also are very proud
and,
of their fishing
the Fall
heritage.
River, and
I'm up here in
io parlo
Massachusetts.
un poco de
I'm not that
portuguese
far from
porque
New Bedford,
there are so
and
many
Fall
Portuguese
River.
neighbors and friends and customers. This
And
part of
il falo un poco de português porque
Massachusetts, and it
because
was
there
the
are I have
Portuguese that
so many
came here,
Portuguese
and they
neighbors
were
and
great
friends
whalers
and customers.
fishermen.
This part of
Pena Palace
Massachusetts,
is the
and it was the
presidential
Portuguese
palace.
that came
It's
here,
been around
and
for
they
a
were
couple of
great whalers and
centuries.
fishermen.
It's beautiful inside
Pena
and
Palace is the
outside. Look at
presidential
the-
palace.
I
It's been
like the
around for a
image
couple
on
of
the
centuries.
left,
It's
gives
beautiful
you
inside and
just a
outside. Look at
great,
the
reference
I like
point
the
of
image
where
on the
it
left,
stands, how
gives
it
you just a
overlooks the
great
valley region there. It's beautiful. You will really enjoy this
reference
particular
point of where it
visit.
stands, how it overlooks the valley region there.
And
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
the colors are
You will really
similar to
enjoy
the colors
this
in
particular
Lisbon
visit.
and also in Porto. You have these
And yeah, just the colors are similar to the colors in
rich,
Lisbon
kind of
and
rich,
also in Porto.
almost
You have these
pastel colors, but not quite. Look at that. Look at those look at those castle
rich,
walls there.
kind of rich, almost
That's just
pastel
amazing.
colors, but not
Tomar
quite. Look at
Castle,
that. Look at those. Look at those
in Lisbon.
castle walls
These are
there. That's just
authentic.
amazing.
These are all very authentic visits going
Tamar
back
Castle in
centuries.
Lisbon.
So
These are authentic.
I
These are
just,
all
and it's
very
not just the
authentic
castle,
visits,
but I love
going
the
back centuries.
scenery. I
So
love it's just lush. And it'll be
I just,
beautiful
and it's
in
not just the
October.
castle,
You know,
but I love the
everybody
scenery. I
thinks
love.
of fall foliage.
It's
here
just
in
lush, and
New
it'll be
England, where
beautiful
I
in
am.
October.
But
You know,
the
everybody
Europeans
thinks
have
of
foliage
full
too in the
foliage
fall,
here in
so
New
it's,
England, where I am.
it's something to note. It's a really pretty time of year
But
to be
you know,
there.
the Europeans have foliage
This is
too,
Tomar Castle.
in the fall. So it's something to note.
What's up next?
So
We
really
have
pretty time of year
Porto,
to be there.
a
This is Tomorrow
beautiful,
Castle.
beautiful
What's up next?
city,
We have Porto,
vibrant
a beautiful
city,
city.
a fishing port city, very important to the economy of Portugal.
A vibrant city, a
these
fishing port
also
city,
referred
very
to as
important to the
city of
economy
bridges. These bridges, these expansion bridges, were all
of
built
Portugal.
by the
Also
same
referred to as
architect
the city of bridges.
between,
These bridges, these
I wanna
expansion
say
bridges,
1903 to about 1910. And they are
were all
very
built by the
famous, and they're
same
very famous in
architect
Europe. And
between, I want to
he's a
say,
very famous
1903
architect who
to about
right now I
1910.
don't recall his
And they
name.
are very famous,
But
and they're
these are
very
very
famous in
interesting,
Europe.
and we will
And he's a
sail
very
as we
famous
leave the
architect
city and
who,
get onto
right
the
now, I don't
Douro.
recall his
We
name.
will sail under
But these
two
are
of
very
these,
interesting.
three
And we will
bridges. So
sail as
very
we leave the
interesting.
city and get onto
Here's
the
the
Douro.
itinerary.
We will
It's a
sail under
round
two of
trip,
these three
Porto to
bridges. So,
Porto,
very interesting.
not doing anything, not doing the same things twice.
Here's the
obviously, but we're
itinerary.
going to a certain point in the Douro.
It's a round
and
trip
then
Porto to
coming
Porto,
back,
not doing
and we
anything,
start,
not doing the
we
same
start in
things
Porto,
twice,
we'll end in
obviously,
Porto.
but we're going
There's
to a
Sintra
certain
again.
point in the
We've
Duo
got
and
a
then coming
heated
back.
pool
And
on
we
the
start
sun deck.
we start in
Got a
Porto.
lot
We'll
of
end in
nice,
Porto. Is the Sintra again? We've
lounge
got a
chairs,
heated
deck
pool on the sun
chairs,
deck.
and
You've got a
covered
lot of
section
nice
as well. People don't want to be in the sunlight.
lounge
You can
chairs,
see
deck
also you can
chairs,
sit
and you've got a
in
covered
the
section as
bow of the
well.
ship. You see in
People don't
front,
want to
they've
be in the
got-
sunlight.
They've got chairs set up in
You
the
can
front
see
as
also,
well.
you
I
can
like
sit
that.
in the bow of the
And then
ship.
you can see
You see in front, they've got
the ship
they've got
has
chairs set up in the
3
front as
decks.
well. I like
You
that.
have
And then you can see the ship has 3
your
decks.
category E's and D's. You can see the rectangular
You
port
have
windows
your
in the first
category E's
deck,
and D's,
then
you
the
can
2
see.
decks above have your
The rectangular
balcony
port
decks, your
windows
French
in the first
balcony
deck,
and your
and then
full
the 2
balcony,
decks above
full
have
balcony
your
staterooms.
balcony decks,
And
your
those are
French
your 3.
balcony,
That's what a
and
river
your full
ship is.
balcony
And again, because
full
the river
balcony
is smaller,
staterooms.
look at the width of the river here. It's smaller than
And
the
those are
mighty
your
Rhine,
3. That's what a
the
river
mighty
ship
Danube
is.
River.
And again,
So
because
the
the river is
locks are
smaller,
That
look at the
sort of
width of the river here.
determines
It's smaller
what
than the mighty
size you
Rhine.
can build
For the
your
mighty
ships to.
Danube
So
River,
most
so the
everybody's
locks are
ship will
smaller.
look
That sort of
similar to this
determines
and hold about 100 guests. Some people a
what
little
size
more.
you can build your ships to.
Here's
So
my
most
new
everybody's
friend and
ship would
colleague,
look similar
Amy.
to
She
this and
approached
hold
us
about
last year. I
100
thought this was a
guests.
great
Some
idea. It was
people a
actually
little more.
Donna who brought me the concept
Here's my new
of
friend
doing
and
this,
colleague, Amy.
and then I think she pitched it to
She
Amy and
approached us
Brett,
last year.
and then
I thought this was a great
Amy
idea.
reached out
It was
to
actually
me
Donna
through
who brought me the
in
concept
maybe
of doing this.
October,
And then I
and
think
said, "You
she
know
pitched
what?
it to
I
Amy and
think
Brett.
I'd like
And
to
then
go there
Amy
with
reached
my
out to me
husband
through
and my
Donna in
kids
maybe October
and check it out and
and
just
said,
see
you know
what a
what?
cool
I think I'd
itinerary
like to
this
go there
is."
with my
And
husband
we
and my
did
kids
help
and
her
check
get
it
that
out
done.
and
She
just see what a
sailed
cool
in
itinerary
December, I
this
want to
is.
say. I don't remember the exact date.
Yep.
And we did
And they
help
had
her
a
get that
wonderful
done.
time,
She
right?
sailed in
So
December, I want to say. I don't
it
remember the
is.
exact date.
There
And they
she's
had a
standing there
wonderful
in front
time,
of
right?
probably
So
one of the
it
first
is
locks that she saw. So there's look how
Yeah.
now the locks are. I don't know if anybody else
Well,
has river
she's
cruised
standing there
before.
in front of probably one of the first
That's a
locks that
narrow
she
lock,
saw.
right? So
So there's,
that's why
look
the
how
ship is
narrow the
smaller
locks
than some
are.
of the other ships
Yeah,
that we
I don't
would
know
have
if
in our
anybody
And
fleet.
else's river
Stephen,
cruised
one of the
before.
things that
That's a
makes
narrow
this
lock,
really
right? So
special
that's why the
is, of
ship is
course,
smaller than some
your
of the other
ship and
ships
the
that we would
rooms.
have in our
We
fleet.
really wanted to go into the AMA product because we feel like there are some real special parts that AMA has. One being accommodations.
Right.
Size is a little bit different than maybe what people are accustomed to on a river cruise.
Right.
And
One
so I
being
wanted to share a
accommodations.
little bit of what this looks like for them.
So someone asked earlier, and I'll get to the question about some of the competitors. Somebody asked how we compare to a couple
So
of the lines,
people,
and I can ask that
someone
toward
asked
the end,
earlier, and I'll get
answer
to the
that rather.
question about
But
some of the competitors.
our
Somebody
founder
asked
and
how we
current
compare to.
chairman is
A couple of the
nautical
lines,
engineer
and I can ask that
by
toward the end.
education.
Answer that
And he
rather, but
designs all of
our founder and
ships.
current chairman
Before
is a
then, he
nautical
designed all of our
engineer
ships
by
for some of the
education.
competitors out there. Then he started his own company.
And he designs all of our
And one of
ships.
the
And
things
before
that
that,
was
he designed all
really
of our
important to
ships
him
for some of
was
the
the size
competitors
of the
out there.
staterooms
Then he
and
started his
the
own
design
company.
of the
And one of the
staterooms.
things that
And
was really
we
important
tend
to him
put
was the
fewer
size of the
guests on our ships
staterooms
than our
and the
competitors,
design
so
of the
that
staterooms.
end up being larger. And he
And we
was the
tend to put
first
fewer
one
guests on our
to
ships
have
than our
on
competitors
this
so that the
river
staterooms end up being larger.
balcony
And he was
staterooms,
the
right?
first one to
So it's
have.
important to note. I want to always give him credit, homage
On
to
this river, on balcony
Rudy
staterooms,
Schreiner,
right? So
who
it's important
designed
to
these
note,
ships
I want to always give
and
him
is still
credit,
designing our
homage
ships. But
to.
you
To
see
Rudy
in
Schreiner,
that
who
photograph, you saw
designed
two
these
chairs
ships
on the outside, so you can sit outside
and
and
is
drink your
still
coffee in the
designing our
morning
ships. But
or
you
a
see
nice
in
glass
this,
of Vino
in
Verde
that
in the
photograph,
evening.
you saw
Here
two
you
chairs
have
on the outside.
the
So you
more
could sit
basic
outside and
cabins
drink
that
your
are
coffee
priced
in the morning,
accordingly.
or a nice
This
glass of
is a
Vino
very
Verde in the
comfortable
evening. Here you have
stateroom in that it's the same
um,
size bed. It's a queen
the
size
more
bed. You
basic
have the same
cabins that are
amenities
priced
in the
accordingly.
stateroom. You
This
have the
is a
same
very
size
comfortable
bathroom.
stateroom
When
in
I
that it's
travel
the
on
same
business for the
size.
company,
A
I'm
bed.
usually in
It's a queen
category
size
E or
bed.
D,
You have
and
the
they're
same
very
amenities in
comfortable.
the stateroom.
And
You have the same
of
size
course, they're
bathroom.
also
When I
they're
travel
priced
on
accordingly.
business for the
So
company, I'm
everybody
usually
has
in a
different
category E or
resources
D,
when they
and they're
travel.
very
But
comfortable.
I
And of
think
course,
the
they're
D's and the E's
they're
have very
priced
good
accordingly,
value.
so
So it's a
everybody
very
has
nice
different
stateroom.
resources when they travel. And I think the D's and the E's have very good values. That's a very nice
Cuisine.
stateroom.
So you're going to get your fair share of Portuguese cuisine, because what we do is we have two menus on board. We'll have
Cuisine.
a menu of the region we're sailing in. In this case, it's almost all Portugal.
So you're going to get
And
your
so
fair
you'll
share
get
of
a
Portuguese
regional menu
cuisine.
of Portuguese
Because what we
cuisine.
do
Again,
is we
because
have two
where I
menus
live
on board.
and
We'll have a
who my
menu of the
neighbors
region
are,
we're sailing in.
I get a
In this
fair
case,
amount
it's
of
almost all
Portuguese
Portugal.
food.
So
We have
you'll
a
get a
lot of
regional menu of Portuguese
restaurants near
cuisine.
us. So
Again, because
it's
where I
you get
live
a
and
lot
who
of
my
beef,
neighbors are,
chicken, and fish,
I get a fair amount of Portuguese food.
and rice
We
and
have a lot
beans
of
and things
Portuguese
like that.
restaurants
But
near
we
us.
also have a North
So
American menu
you've got a lot
for
of
those
beef,
who maybe
chicken
their
and fish,
palate is
and rice and beans
not
and things like that.
as broad as
But we
others.
also
You
have a
can
North
always
American menu.
order,
For those who
a
maybe their
T-bone
palate
steak for
is
dinner.
not as broad as others, you can always order.
North American menu is the right side of the menu. Left side is the European
You know, a
menu.
T-bone steak
Here
for
are
dinner.
some of the
There's a North
our
American
own
menu.
breads.
There's the right
We
side of the
make our
menu.
own ice cream,
Left
and we
side
make
is
our
the
own
European menu.
pastries on board.
Here are some of
Things
the
to
we
die
make.
for. You've got to pace yourself.
Our own breads, we
Most
make
of
our
the
own
food
ice
is
cream.
very
And we
healthy.
make our own
This
pastries on
is
board. These are to die
rich in
for. You've got to
butter
pace
and
yourself.
other great stuff.
Most of the food is very
So that's
healthy.
why I say
But this
pace
is
yourself. Some
rich in
really
butter
unique
and other great
pastries from
stuff.
Portugal.
Stephen, this is
And
something that
so
really
that's
makes
why I say
this
pace
region
yourself.
unique,
Some
right?
really
Is
unique
this
pastries in
amazing
Portugal.
pastries.
Again, I do a lot of these events, everybody. So I am
Again,
very familiar with these pastries. If we're doing this live in person, we'd have some of these pastries.
I do a
on
lot of
hand.
these events,
And,
everybody. So I am
just
very
love when
familiar
we
with
haven't-
these
we'll get to
pastries.
the
If we're
slides
doing
of
this live in person,
the egg
we'd have some of
custard
these pages
stuff,
on
but these
hand.
are croissants
And
and things like that.
I just
We
love, and we
also
haven't.
mentioned
We'll get to
earlier,
the
we
slides
include
of the egg
the
custard
wine on
stuff.
the ship with
But these are
lunch and
croissants
dinner.
and things
We
like that.
include,
We also
domestic
include.
European
We mentioned
beers,
earlier.
but
We
we
include
also
the wine on the
have
ship
a
with
sip and
lunch
sail,
and
which is
dinner.
a
We include
1-hour
domestic
cocktail hour
European beers.
before dinner, and we also
But we
include
also have a
some
sip and
signature
sail,
regional
which is a 1-hour
cocktails.
cocktail hour
So all the
before dinner.
guests in the guest
And we also
lounge,
include some
and there's a
signature
piano
regional
bar
cocktails.
there,
And so all the
then
guests in the
there's
guest
the
lounge.
cocktail of the
And there's a
day,
piano
usually
bar there.
changes
And then
daily. Local wines, and and the wines change daily, right?
There's a cocktail of the
Different
day.
fine white and a different fine red wine each day. And the
It usually
Portuguese,
changes
surprisingly
daily.
enough, and
Local
you'll find
wines, and the
out,
wines change daily,
I
right?
think
Different
some of us
fine
are
white
wine
and a different
snobs,
fine
myself
red wine
included,
each day.
thinking
And the
France is the only
Portuguese,
place to get
surprisingly
wines,
enough,
but
and you'll
Portugal
find out.
wine is
You know,
very,
I
very
think some of
good.
us are wine
Here's the
snobs,
port
myself
wine
included,
tasting
thinking France is the only place
early
to
on
get
in the
wines.
cruise,
But
and then
Portugal wine
these
is
are my
very,
favorite,
very
these
good.
pastis
Here's
de
the port
nata.
wine tasting.
I had 2 of these last week.
Early on in the
Their
cruise, and then
presentation.
these are my favorite.
They're really good.
These
They're very
pasties de
rich. It's
nata.
egg custard.
I had 2 of
And you
these
can
last week
get them
after a
all,
presentation.
in
They're
Rhode
really
Island,
good.
you get
They're
them in
very
East
rich.
Providence,
It's
and
egg
you can get them
custard.
in Boston bakeries. You can get them in
And you
Fall
can get
River.
them all,
So we see a
you
lot
know,
of
in Rhode
these.
Island.
So on your ship of
You get them
102
in East
guests,
Providence,
you'll have
and you can
roughly
get them in
between
Boston
35 and
bakeries. You can
40
get them in
crew
Fall
member
River.
and they
so we see
take
a lot of
amazing
these.
care
So
of
on
you.
your
They
ship
will
of
know your
102
name
guests, you'll have
by
roughly
the
between
second day
35
on
and
the
40
ship.
crew
They'll know
member,
what you're
and they
taking,
take
your
amazing
coffee.
care
They
of
know
you.
you
They will know
prefer
your
white or
name
red wine, things like that. They're
by the
wonderful.
second day
I
on
don't
the
know how
ship.
they're trained to the
They'll
very
know what
top
you
level.
take
They're
in your
very good.
coffee. They know you prefer
So
white or red
you'll
wine, things
enjoy
like
them. You
that.
want to bring them
They're
home again.
wonderful. I don't know how they're trained. To the very top
In New
level,
York
they're very
City,
good.
yes, I
So you
agreed.
will enjoy them.
Agreed.
You'll want to bring
This
them
is
home
my
with
friend
you.
Uwe. He's one of our cruise managers. We have lots of cruise
In New York
managers.
City,
And as
yes,
I mentioned earlier, they travel with you
miss. I agreed,
on the pre
agreed,
or the
agreed.
post. In this
This
case,
is my
on the
friend
pre.
Uwe. He's one
And
of
so
our
whoever your
cruise
cruise
managers.
manager is,
We
and
have
we'll
lots of
probably
cruise
find out who
managers.
they'll be
And
ahead
as I
of
mentioned
time.
earlier, they travel with you on the pre or the
They'll be
post. In
with
this
you the
case, on the
entire
pre.
time.
And so
that is
whoever your cruise
that
manager is,
doesn't
and we'll
seem like a
probably
big
find
deal,
out
but
who
it's a
they'll
big
be
deal
ahead
to
of
have
time.
the same point of
They'll be
contact
with you the
for
entire
your
time.
entire European
So that
trip.
is
I really appreciate
doesn't
the
seem
fact
like
that
a
you do
big
that.
deal,
And he's a great
but
guy.
it's a
He's
big
from
deal to
Hungary.
have the same point of contact for your
Stephen,
entire
before
European
we
trip.
get
I really
into the
appreciate the fact that we
itinerary,
do
will you
this.
tell
And
them
he's a
a
great
little bit
guy. He's from
about
Hungary.
how I know river cruises always have optional, like have tours included, and this is
Right.
no different, but I think you guys have a little bit
Right.
different take on that. Will you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So for the pre, we do include the stuff that we showed earlier in the presentation. And if you want to do additional stuff on your own, you can, but we will have some optionals in the evenings
We
in
do include the
Lisbon.
stuff that we
But
showed
on the
earlier in the
ship,
presentation.
everything is
And if you
included.
want to do additional stuff on your own,
Everything we do
you
off the
can,
ship
but
is
we will have
included
some
in your
optionals.
pricing. There's
In the
no
evenings in Lisbon, but on the
optional
ship,
stuff on
everything
the
is
ship. There's
included.
no optionals
Everything we do
or
off the ship is
upcharging
included in
on
your
the river
pricing.
cruise. What you
There's
pay
no
for is everything that you're going
optional
to
stuff
do
on the ship.
escorted
There's
off the
no
ship. So
optional or
that's important
upcharging
to
on the
know.
river
And
cruise.
I think,
What you pay for
Brett,
is
the reason
everything
that
that you're
this
going to do.
itinerary is so popular
Escorted
is
off
that
the ship.
it's so unique from the other destinations in Europe. The fact that we are
So
doing
that's
stuff,
important to note.
we're getting off the
And
ship
I
in the
think, Brett,
daytime.
the
We're eating
reason
with
that this
locals. We're going to
itinerary is so
quintas,
popular
which are
is that it's so
the vineyards,
unique
the
from
wine
the other
estates.
destinations in
You're
Europe.
listening to
The fact
local
that we are
music,
doing
live
stuff.
music.
We're getting off the ship
When
in the
you're
daytime.
visiting an
We're eating with
estate,
locals. We're going to
it would
quintas,
be
which the vineyards, the wine
exclusive to
estates.
our
You're
ship. You're not
listening
with
to
other
local music,
guests
live music.
from
When
other
you're
tours or
visiting an
anything like
estate,
that.
it would be
I think it's a really well thought out
exclusive to our ship.
itinerary.
You're not
And
with other
I
guests
do
from
strongly
other
believe that
tours or
this is
anything
one
like
of
that.
the reasons
I think it's a really well thought
it's
out
so popular
itinerary.
right now.
And
It's
I
just
do strongly
very
believe that this is one of the
unique
reasons
to other
it's
parts
so
of Europe
popular
who've
right
done the
now. It's
Rhine
just
and the
very
Danube. So here's the itinerary. It's
yeah.
Porto to
And
Porto.
Stephen, also one
unique
of
to
the
other parts
unique
of Europe. If
sections
you've done the
compared to
Rhine and the
other
Danube. So here's the itinerary. It's Porto to
river
Porto.
cruises is
Go
that,
ahead.
of course, this is not a working river, right? This is a river that is sailed during the day because of the
Yes.
valley and how beautiful it is.
Good point, Brett.
Yes.
This is a daytime, we call it a daytime river cruise because there's a lot of sailing in the daytime. You can,
Good
it's
point,
not
Brett.
a wide,
This is a
you can
daytime.
almost reach
We
out
call
and
it a
touch
daytime
the
river cruise because
riverbanks.
there's a lot of
You
sailing in
can
the
see
daytime.
everything
You can,
clearly.
it's
You
not
get
a
some
wide,
great
wide.
photo
You can almost reach out
opportunities.
and touch the
And I
riverbanks.
think it appeals to
You can
people
see
that
everything
it's
clearly. You get some
kind
great
of a
photo
laid-back
opportunities.
cruise.
And I think it appeals to people that
you're
it's
just winding back and forth. We've got as our backdrop one of the
kind of a
bends
laid-back
of the
cruise.
Douro River, which is beautiful.
You're just
And
winding back and forth. We've
it just
got as our
adds to
backdrop one of the
everything. It's just
bends
a really popular
of the
itinerary
Douro
right now.
River, which is beautiful.
We're doing very well with it. So let's
And
look at
it just
let's look
adds
at
to
the
everything.
itinerary.
It's just a really
This is
popular
Hegua
itinerary
in
right now.
Portugal. You're going to
We're
see
doing very well with
these
it. So let's
smaller
look at the
towns,
let's look
where
at the
there's a lot of
itinerary.
wine. There are a
This is
lot of
Hegua in
estates that
Portugal.
we
You're going to
visit.
see these smaller
I
towns
even love, besides the architecture, I love the architecture because it's so
where there's a
unique.
lot of wine. There are a lot
To
of estates
Portugal,
that we
maybe
visit.
a little
I
bit of a
love,
Spanish
I even
flair
love.
here, but you don't
Besides the
see this type
architecture,
of
I love the
architecture,
architecture because it's so
in other
unique.
parts of
Maybe a
Europe,
little bit
so I
of a
like that
Spanish
a
flair
lot.
here. But
This
you
is
don't see
the
this type of
Entre los
architecture.
Rios in Portugal. This is
In other parts of Europe,
that's being poured there is actually the wine that I'm
so I like
drinking
that a
right
lot.
now. You can find
This is the
particular wine in the States, and
Andreas
it's not
Rios in
expensive, and
Portugal.
it's
This
very
is
good,
that bottle
very
of wine that's
drinkable.
being poured there. Is
And
actually the wine that I'm drinking
this
right
is
now.
another thing.
You can
Again,
find this particular wine in
to
the
leave the
States,
ship
and
and
it's
go
not
and eat
expensive,
with
and it's very
locals,
good,
for me,
very
is
drinkable.
always
And this is
one of
another
the
thing again.
most fun things
To
I
leave
can
the
do.
ship
I
and go
like
and
to
eat
rub
with locals for me is
elbows
always
with
one of the
locals when
most
I'm
fun things
visiting
I can do.
Europe.
I like to
think
rub
that's the most authentic excursion that you can have.
elbows with locals
Experience
when I'm
with
visiting Europe.
families.
I think that's the
Some of
most
these
authentic
estates have been in the
excursion that
same
you can
families
have.
for 5 generations, 6, 7 generations. It's
Experience
wonderful
with families.
to meet the
Some of these
locals.
estates have been
Barca
in the
de
same
Alva
families for 5 generations,
is the
6,
visit on
7
the way to
generations.
the
It's wonderful to meet the
Castle
locals.
Rodrigo. You do a
Barça de
tasting
Alva
here
is the
as
visit on
well.
the way
This
to the Castle
is
Rodrigo.
old.
You do a tasting
It's
here as
not.
well. This
This one
castle is
photograph looks like it's still intact, but there are other angles of this where it's
old. It's not.
almost reduced to
This one
rubble in some
photograph
places.
looks
It's
like
about
it's still
1,000 years
intact,
old.
but there are
So
other angles
it
of
is
this where
really
it's,
authentic.
almost
And this
reduced
is
to
just a
rubble in some
beautiful
places. It's
region.
about
It's a
1,000
hilly,
years old,
mountainous
so
region.
it
It's
is
just
really
a
authentic.
wonderful a part along the
And this
river,
is just a
and you will
beautiful
enjoy
region.
this
It's a
as
hilly,
well, and you
mountainous
will come
region.
back
It's
with
just
some
a
I want to
wonderful
see your photos when you all come back. It's
a part
just,
along the river,
it's a
and you will
great,
enjoy
great
this
visit.
as well.
Salamanca.
And you will come
So
back
this
with
is
some
your day in
amazing.
Spain.
I want to see your
Salamanca
photos when you
is
all come back.
a
It's a great,
beautiful
great
Spanish
visit.
city.
Salamanca. So this
I
is
think
your
we
day
have
in
lunch
Spain.
in the
Salamanca
city
is
on this
a beautiful
particular
Spanish
day.
city.
You do some great shopping.
Uh,
There's a great version of like Fifth Avenue there for shopping, and
I
also
think we
we
have lunch
have
in the city
a
on this particular day.
flamenco
We do
tour.
some
We
great
have
shopping.
flamenco
They're a
dance
great
as well.
version
And look at
of,
the architecture
like
here.
Fifth Avenue there
So
for
it
shopping.
is a fun day.
And
We
also
do
we
get
have
into Spain
a
on this
flamenco
particular
tour.
day. We
We have
spend most of
flamenco
the day
dance as
here,
well. And look at the
and I think
architecture
this is
here. So
also
it
a
is a fun
great
day.
photo
We do get into
opportunity.
Spain on this particular day. We
And you'll
spend most of the
see,
day here.
if you
And I
hadn't
think
noticed
this
by
is also a
now,
great photo opportunity. Um, and
yeah,
you'll see that if you hadn't noticed by now.
Portugal is very Catholic. There's a
Yeah,
lot of cathedrals, so I hope that
no,
everybody's okay. But look at the doors there. Look at those doors. Those
Portugal is very
beautiful,
Catholic.
tall, 12,
There's a lot
14
of
foot doors.
cathedrals, so
That's
I hope
just
that
amazing.
everybody's
So,
okay. But
And I know,
look at the doors
Stephen,
there. Look
they
at those
redid
doors, those
this,
beautiful,
and when they
tall 12,
redid
14-foot doors.
the
That's just
work, which
amazing.
was
So,
amazing, they put this fun little
yeah,
astronaut
the
in, and
astronaut.
so
Yeah,
they'll
I
have to
noticed that.
look for these fun little
yeah,
things.
the astronaut.
Yes,
Yeah, I noticed.
it's
Yes.
yeah, it's yeah. You got to find what were the games the kids used to play where you had to find the little.
It's
Like Finding
yeah,
Waldo, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
you've got to
that'll be
find
fun for
what were
everybody.
the
But
games
yeah,
the kids used to play where you had to find the little
P now is if you just go and search online images of the Douro
P
River
now.
9
P
times
now
out of
is if
10,
you just
it'll
go and
be an
search
image of
online.
P now, okay, which is currently our backdrop as
Images
well.
of the Douro River 9 times out of 10. It'll be an
Sleepy
image
little
of Pinal,
wine
okay, which
town,
is currently our
all
backdrop as well.
it's all the little rows of vineyards. Some
Sleepy little
great
wine
wines come from
town.
this
All
region.
you know, it's all
You'll
the
meet some
little rows of
local
vineyards.
vintners, and just
Uh,
another
some great
great
wines
day
come
of
from this
visiting.
region. You'll
Here's
meet
a
some
wine
local
tasting here.
vintners.
The Quinta
And
de
just another great
Avasada.
day of visiting.
This
Here's
is
a
a
wine
great day
tasting
off
here.
the ship.
The Quinta de
And
Avasada. This is a
I
great
have
day off
another
the ship.
image of people there tasting wine, but there's like a band behind them,
And
a
you,
gentleman with an
what's not? I have
accordion,
another image of people
tambourine,
there
and
tasting wine.
little violin.
But
They have
there's
their
like a
own,
band
they've got their
behind
own
them, a
little
gentleman
band.
with
So
an
it's
accordion and
very
tambourine
authentic.
and
Again, with locals, live music,
little
great wine. Let's
violin,
not be
and
wine
they have their
snobs.
own,
And
they have
great
their own
food.
little band.
I mean,
So
again,
it's very
I'm
authentic,
partial to
again, with
Portuguese
locals,
cuisine
live
because of
music.
where I live.
Great wine, let's not be wine snob. And great food.
It's very
I mean,
good. It's
again,
very
I'm partial
healthy.
to Portuguese
Pastries, not
cuisine
so
because
much,
of
but
where I
very
live.
good food. So this is
It's very good.
this
It's
is
very healthy. Pastries, not so much, but very
the
good
holy
food. So
staircase
this
of
is
Amago. And again, we've seen this image now a
this
couple
is
of times
the
with
holy
these
staircase of the Mago.
blue
And again,
tinted
we've
tiles,
seen this
metallic
image now a
tinted
couple of
tiles,
times with
and
these
that's called
blue
the art
tinted
of doing
tiles,
that is
metallic tinted tiles.
azulejos. Azulejos are these tiles. You'll see them around the sea.
And that's
You'll see them
called the
around
art
Porto,
of doing
Lisbon.
that is
This is the
azulejos.
holy
Azulejos are these
staircase.
tiles. You'll see them
Again,
around the city.
I
You'll
guess
see
the
them around
Portuguese
Porto
were
and
trying to
Lisbon.
catch up with
This is the holy staircase.
the French and the
Again,
Italians
I guess the Portuguese were
miracles,
trying to
and
catch
there
up
was a
with
miracle sighting here. I forget the year it was, but
the French
basically
and the Italians with
a little
miracles.
girl saw the image of Jesus, and now people actually
And there
go
was a
on
miracle
pilgrimages
sighting here.
here,
I forget the
and
year
it's
it was,
a
but
place
basically
where
a
they
little
believe,
girl
the
saw
faithful
the
believe
image
that
of
they are
Jesus.
healed,
And now people
going
actually
up
go
the
on
staircase.
pilgrimages here.
But
And it's a place where
moreover,
they
it's a
believe, the faithful
beautiful,
believe
it's just a
that they are
beautiful
healed
sight and a
going up
beautiful
the staircase.
and the
But
architecture,
moreover,
again,
it's
very old, but still
it's just a beautiful
still
sight
very
and a beautiful
beautiful. So it's a
staircase.
nice
And
day
the
here.
And Stephen, I know
and the
some of our
architecture,
guests that
again,
are
very
on
old,
the call
but still
today are already
very
training
very
just to be
beautiful.
able to go
So
up
it's a
and
nice day
down
here.
these steps. So it's
Well,
a wonderful thing. But if you didn't want to climb them all,
Well,
you could still see them, right?
yes, I'm thinking in my mind. There was this as an excursion I did with my son and a group in Cambodia. It was called the
I'm thinking in my
Temple of a
mind that it was an
Thousand
excursion I
Steps,
did with my
and
son
my
and a
son and
group
I signed up
in
to do the
Cambodia.
actual
It was
hike
called
up those
the
steps, and he was fine. I
Temple
was
of a
not.
Thousand
So
Steps. And my son and I
these
signed up to do
please be
the actual
careful.
hike up
Know
those
your
steps. And
abilities.
he
If
was
somebody
fine. I
And
ends
was
then,
up
not.
hiking
So
these
please
things,
be,
so I'll
please be
address that a
careful.
little
Know
later
your
too. You
abilities.
can, most of this stuff we're bringing you to the location
I'll address that a
because
little
it's
later
so
too.
hilly
You can,
and so steep. We do
most of
not
this stuff
carry
we're
on. We
bringing you to
usually carry
we're bringing
bicycles
you to the locations
on
because
the
it's
rivers,
so
but
hilly
not
and so
in
steep. We do
not in
not carry
Portugal.
usually carry bicycles on
the
the rivers,
grades
but
are
not
so
in
steep
Portugal.
that we don't want someone to
The
get
grades are
stuck
so
or
steep
get hurt. So in most cases here,
that we
we're
don't want
bringing
someone
you
to get stuck or
directly
get
to the
hurt.
site.
So,
Okay.
in most
The
cases
six
here, we're
bridges
bringing
here,
you directly
Porto
to
and
the site.
Gaia Illuminations Cruise. So we do that at night.
Okay.
That's great to know that we do that at night. When I was there a long time ago, we did it in the daytime.
Are the six
And this
bridges
is
here
really
Porto
cool.
and Gaia
Illumination cruises are very
Illuminations
cool
Cruise? So
because
we do
most
that at
cities
night. That's
are
great to know
proud
that we do
of
that at night.
Yeah,
When I was there a
bridges
long
and
time ago,
monuments
we
and
did
things
it
like
in the
that, and
daytime.
knowing to
And this
light
is
them
really
up at
cool.
night so that
Illumination cruises are
people
very
can
cool
see
because
them
most
and take
cities are
pictures and
proud of.
so on. So
There are
this is a
bridges and
great
monuments and things like
opportunity
that,
to be on
and
the
know
sun
enough to
deck
light them up at
with
night
a
so that
glass
people can
of
see them
vino
and take
or your
pictures
favorite
and so
beer
on.
or something like
So
that,
this is a
and
great
just
opportunity to be on the sun deck
again
with a
relax
glass of
and
vino
enjoy the sights. This is really
or
pretty.
your
And
favorite
I know
beer or
this was
something like
a
that.
big
And just,
highlight for Amy and her
again,
family,
relax and enjoy the
but the
sights. This is
region, the
really
whole
pretty.
area is just amazingly beautiful. It's cultural. We're going to experience the people, the places, certainly the food, the wine. I think these are all things why we wanted to choose this particular. We've been asked about this river for a long time, and I think AMA is really going to be the way for us to give this to you in the special way that we know that the clients deserve. So I know we have to talk a little bit about the availability that's still left for our cruises. We are doing this as a partial charter. So the majority of the ship will actually be friendship tours. And Donna, do you want to jump in here a little bit and talk about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Brett. So when we brought out this product in April, we had secured 30 cabins with AMA. There are about 50 cabins on board, so 100 guests. And we have sold all of our cabins except for 10. But ironically, we still have a variety of categories. So the deck, you could see the Douro deck where we have our category D and E, which are your standard outside. We still have 3 cabins available on that deck. We have the majority, as you can see on Lisbon Deck 2, that's category B, that's your veranda. And that was the very first picture that they showed you with the door to go outside. They also have a floor to ceiling window, like a little nook to sit at, which is beautiful. So you have that is like the majority of the cabins that we did hold, and we still do have 5 available. And then up to the third deck, we do still have 2 French balcony, which we didn't show a picture of, but they are the 4 purple ones on the far left. We have 2 of those, and a French balcony means that you have the floor to ceiling window doors that open, but you cannot step outside. So it's not a veranda, it's a French balcony. So we do have 2 of those, and then we have 1 veranda, which is the same as the B. It's A on deck 3, and it would be 1 cabin left there. And we had 2 suites, which we did already sell on deck 3. Those are now reserved. So we do not have any suites. That's the only category that we have that is sold out. So yes, we have right now, I believe 10 cabins open. And as we said, this is so popular. So that's why we wanted to do the Zoom before the summer got away from us. And that way we could make sure that by our
Right.
particular deadline that we have now secured all of our cabins.
And with the deck plan, you do see some unique things. One I find is that they have a spa on board. So if you did
Mhm.
want to get a treatment or something, they actually have that. That pool is something else that's unique to this particular line in this ship. The fitness room. So there's actually some beautiful, the setup is very, very similar to lots of river cruises with the cabins on one side and the public spaces. But I think this ship is I know, the most modern ship on the river, the Douro, and it is going to be perfect size and extraordinarily comfortable for us. Stephen, do you have anything to add about the cabins, the categories, or that area before
No, I
we go
think
into pricing?
you did a good job there, Brett. I mean, these are very, very generous sized staterooms for the Douro. And again,
Generous
that's what
sized
we're known
staterooms for the
for.
Douro.
And I like the
And
fact, and Donna
again,
pointed
that's
this
what we're
out too.
known
So you
for.
basically still have availability across all of the categories,
And
with
I
the
like the fact,
exception
and
of
Donna
the
pointed this out too.
suites, which typically
So you
do sell
basically
out
still
first.
have availability across
So I
all of
think
the
there's something
categories,
for
with
everyone
the
there,
exception of the
and
suites, which typically do
they
sell out
all
first.
have
But
value in a
so I
different
think there's
way, and
something for everyone there.
they have their own benefits,
And
each category, each level, stateroom. But it's good to
they all have
have,
value in
instead
a
of just
different way. And
coming on and we say we only have
they
C's or
have
we
their
only
own
have D's
benefits,
or
each
something like that.
category,
You
each
have
level,
something that go
stateroom.
across each
But it's good to have,
category,
instead of just
and
coming
then
on,
you
we
can
say we
reach
only have
out
C's or we only have
to
D's or something
the
like that.
folks at
You have
Friendship
something
and say,
across
okay,
each category. And
what's the
then you can
costing?
reach out
What's this one versus this one, and so on and so forth. That's
to
the
the folks at
conversation
Friendship and
we'll
say,
be having next. So
okay,
there you go.
what's the
So
There you
costing? What's
go.
this one
there
versus
you
this
Exactly.
go.
one?
So
And
this
so
is
on and
the
so forth.
final page on
That's
the
the
flyer, which gets
conversation.
into all the
You'd be
nitty
having
gritty,
next. So, and
right?
there you
So we
go.
have our
So there you go.
pricing. with our standard category E and D. So a good thing to point out, of course, we have our flights included here. We have our transportation. We have our tour director, all of your sightseeing that is included. And of course, so we start with our panoramic window cabins and then the French balconies, and then the suite pricing there. So there you see that. The deposit policy is listed on the flyer as well. So the initial deposit, we do take along with your passport information. We do take that $1,500 per person deposit at the time you make your reservation. And then a second deposit is due in July, and a third deposit is due in November. And then the final payment is due in April. So I know some people are used to paying in full over a year in advance, so we're happy to say that that is not the case here, and the final payment is due in April. And so we do ask you to review the policies, and we're happy to go over insurance options. We work with 2 different companies at Friendship that we can give you comparative pricing on travel protection coverage, strongly recommended based on the deposit and cancellation policy of this tour. So very important that you insure it. And that way, if God forbid there was a reason you had to cancel, you'd be covered. So yes, so we ask you to review that. And yeah, that's kind of it.
I did want to point out the mobility section on here.
Oh yes, thank you.
And Stephen, do you mind sharing a little bit? Because I know you've done these trips.
Yeah, I would say I'm glad that I was reading that earlier. I'm glad you brought it up, Brett.
I would say I'm
again,
glad that
we do not
I was
carry
reading that
bicycles
earlier.
on
I'm
this
glad you brought
itinerary.
it up, Brett.
So think about
It is,
that.
again, we do not
And
carry
it's not
bicycles
so
on this
much getting
itinerary.
around the ship, it's getting around
So
off
think
the
about
ship.
that. And it's not so much getting around the
Really
ship.
be a challenge,
It's getting
I think,
around
for
off the
people
ship.
with certain mobility issues. And
That would
we'd rather
really
have
be a
full
challenge, I think, for
disclosure
people
here
with
than
certain
have
mobility
somebody
issues.
go on a trip and maybe only be able to get off the ship 2 days or 3 days, something like that, based on the itinerary.
And we'd rather
So
have
you
full
have to
disclosure
have,
here than
you
have
know,
somebody go on a trip
meaningful
and maybe only be
conversation.
able to get off
If
the
you've
ship
not
2
been to
days or
Europe
3
and you
days,
don't
something like
know,
that, based on the itinerary.
there is no
So you have to
ADA
have,
laws
a
there. They
meaningful
don't have
conversation
ramps. They
if
don't
you've
have
not been to Europe
elevators.
and you
Some of
don't
these
know.
villages we're
I mean, there
visiting,
is no
we're
ADA
going
laws
to,
there.
we're going
They don't have
into
ramps. They don't have elevators.
structures that
Some
are,
of these villages we're visiting, we're
800 years
going
old,
into
900
structures
years
that are,
old. It's not even land, it's not even ground, so things like that. So just being, it's a good thing
800
that you
years
have
old,
that there.
900 years old.
Have a meaningful
That's not even
conversation
land.
with
It's not
somebody
even
at Friendship
ground. So
Tours.
things
But
like that. So
typically,
just
I mean, if it
being,
was
it's a
me
good thing
talking
that
to
you have
people,
that
I'd
there.
ask them what kind of trips they
Have a
done,
meaningful
what can they do,
conversation
what
with
can they
somebody
not
at
do,
Friendship
and
Tours.
qualify
But
it that way. But
typically, I mean, if it was me talking to
one of
people,
the
I'd ask
more
them what kind of
difficult
trips they have done. What can
itineraries
they
that we
do? What can they not
in
do?
Europe
And
because of
qualify
the
it that way. But
terrain.
it is
Okay.
one of the more difficult itineraries that we
And
do
not,
in Europe
necessarily
because of the
hiking
terrain.
every day.
Okay.
So
Well,
we
again, we're
we do
bringing
get
people most,
yeah.
so
I
yeah, so
remember Amy said with the 700
No,
steps, there
again,
was
we're bringing
options
people
to get
most.
dropped
Yeah. So
off,
yeah.
like
So
at the top, you're not having to do all that walking. But right, no, that's very good to point out. And could you touch a little bit on the optional tour, the tours that are included? You mentioned that there are no optionals. Everything's included, but
on the river cruise, right?
on the
So
river cruise, exactly.
on
you're
the
in
river
Lisbon,
cruise,
there
right?
might
So
be,
with
there probably are some
Right.
optionals that they're going to tell you about. They typically are
when you're in Lisbon, there probably
themed
are some
authentic
optionals that they're going to
Portuguese
tell you
seafood
about.
dinner,
They
for
typically
example,
are.
with live music, things like that.
Excellent.
You're traveling
Themed
as a
dinners,
group.
authentic
These are
Portuguese seafood
typically
dinner,
very
for
fun
example,
things
with
to
live
do
music,
together,
things like
right?
that,
A
that you're
night out
traveling as a
listening to
group.
fado music, which is
These are
their
typically
very
very
kind of
fun things to
sad
do together, right?
ballads
A
in
night out
Portuguese.
listening to
A woman
fado
is
music,
singing and
which is
she's
they're
crying, and
very kind of
people are
sad
playing the violin and some other instruments,
ballads
things
in
like that, or
Portuguese.
maybe a flamenco
A
dance,
woman is
something like that.
singing and
So
she's crying, and people are
the
playing the
first night
violin
that you
and
get in,
some other
I'm sorry,
instruments, things like that, or
I
maybe a
didn't really
flamenco dance,
go
something
through
like
this, but the
that.
first night you get to the
The first
hotel,
night that you get in,
there'll be a welcome
I'm sorry, I
reception for
didn't really go
everybody.
through this, but
There'll
the
be
first night you
drinks
get
there,
to the
soft
hotel,
drinks and snacks, and the cruise manager
there'll
will
be a welcome
explain,
reception for
this is what
everybody.
the next 3
There'll
days
be
are going to
drinks
be
there,
exactly.
soft
This is the
drinks and
timing of
snacks,
this, and
and
this.
the
This
cruise
is what's
manager will
included.
explain.
It's already
This is
on
what
your
the next 3 days are
itinerary.
going to be
But
exactly.
if you want to do
This is the
something
timing
else,
of
we
this,
have
this, and
this
this.
optional this
This is
night.
what's
We have
included.
this
It's already on
optional
your
this night.
itinerary.
And
But
I'm
if you
available,
want to do something
these
else, we have
hours
this
during the
optional
day.
this
They'll
night.
give you,
We have this
we'll
optional this
have a
night, and I'm
hospitality
available.
desk there. the a person's
You know, these
placket will be
hours
there,
during
and
the
the
day, they'll
hours of
give you,
operation
it'll,
will
you
be on
know,
the desk, and you can
we'll
go
have a
by and ask them
hospitality desk
anything you
there.
like. You can do the
A
optionals with
person's
us. You can
placket
do
will
them
be
as a
there,
group, or
and
people
the
can
hours of
split
operation
off
will be
and
on
do
the
their own
desk.
thing.
And you
Totally
can
up
go
to
by
you.
and ask them
But
anything you like.
we're
You
with
can do
you
the
the
optionals
entire
with us.
time for the
You can do them as a
hand-holding
group,
aspect of it.
or people can
Yes, we
split
wanted
off and
people
do
to
their own
immerse
thing.
themselves in
Totally
the
up to you.
culture and
But
the
we're
cuisine,
with you
and
the
not
entire time
be,
for the
let
hand-holding
them make the
aspect of it.
decision on what they would like to do in Lisbon on those evenings, because we all will be obviously dining together, the rest of the time, but people can choose what they would like to do or what they wouldn't like to do in Lisbon.
That's
I
a
think
good
that's
point, Donna. It's very
really
laid
good.
back. It's the optional the pre-stay is very laid back.
That's a good point, Donna.
It's not a
It's very
given
laid
that
back. The
everyone's going to be
optional, the
together every
pre-stay
day.
is
They can
very
do
laid
other
back.
stuff too, right? Just so you know.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the nice thing
It's
on
not a
the
given that everyone's
actual
going to be
tour,
together every
this
day.
portion that's
They
on
can
the
do other
slide,
stuff too, right?
is there
Just so you
are
know.
not just like on some cruise lines, they include kind of a tour, and that's always a walking panoramic tour. And then some of the other things are not really included. Here, you have different types of tours that were options, some that are gentle. And then Amy's kids were with her and they did some hiking trips. So this really does have a little bit for all different levels and interests.
Absolutely. And that's the other difference between us and some of the other cruise lines. Somebody was asking about
Absolutely. And
earlier. We have
that's the
more
other
options.
difference between
You have more
us and some of the
flexibility
other
with
cruise
AMA. You
lines.
have more
Somebody
options.
was asking
We
about
do things
earlier.
that are paced
We have more
to
options. We
people's
have more
pace.
flexibility with AMA. You have more options.
And
We do
I think
things at
that's
our
why
pace to people's
we're
pace.
such a popular river cruise line right now. We're the second largest river cruise company in North America,
And I think
and
that's why
we're happy
we're
with
such a
that. We're not
popular
trying to
river
grow at
cruise line right
exponential
now.
rates.
We're the second
We're
largest
just
river
trying
cruise company
to
in North America. And we're
give everyone
happy.
the
We're
best
happy with
experience
that.
that they can
We're
have
not
in each
trying to grow at
particular
exponential rates.
country
We're just trying to
river area.
give everyone the best experience that
We
they
had
can
a
have in
question
each particular
on
country and
airline,
river
like
area.
which airline, is used. And so, as we sit a year and a half prior to the trip, we would not have access to flight schedules and airlines quite yet. But we would be looking at all options. And typically, what we offer is like economy airfare, is what we have based our estimate on. And we do state on the flyer that it's an estimate. And we're really good at doing this. We've been doing this a long time. We've estimated the cost. However, we do always have that caveat that we do the best we can. And if there was any, increase or what have you, we would obviously be reaching out. But that's not typically the case. If you were interested in upgrade in class of service, we usually ask that, and I'm already keeping a list for those passengers that are looking for something additional when it comes time to reserve. But we would be looking at all major carriers.
And so, Donna, I think that's really important. Also, this is the trip that's really, you have the will to go to Europe. Heidi and I are going to be with you. We may even have more staff, and we're going to be assisting along the way. So if there happen to be a connection or things like that, we're there. We can get help for those that the airlines might be a little bit big getting from gate to gate. So those are the things that we're here to really manage for you and help. And so I know you talked about what's next, which is how they kind of do the booking process.
Yes. And I'm
And then,
officially volunteering to be the extra staff. So just
yes, I know.
put that on record. Thank you very much. I'm just
And
kidding.
so I think we should open it up to any questions that people have. I'm going to stop the sharing so we can see you guys. And if you have any questions, this is the
Right.
to ask. And you can either unmute yourself or you can do it in the chat, whichever is easiest.
And Donna, we have a lot of questions in the chat we can get to too. So
Yes, I see a few things. I'm
And
really
Donna,
not
we have
very
a lot of
good at
questions in
this
the
these
chat we can
days.
get to
different
too.
dinner
So,
times, or does
Oh,
everybody eat at the
yes.
same time?
Dinner is all
what about different
together.
dinner times, or
dinner
does
is usually
every
a
meal?
set
That's a
time.
good time.
Breakfast and lunch are time frames. You can go anytime.
Yeah, dinner
within
is
that
usually a
time
set
frame.
time.
Usually
Breakfast and lunch are
breakfast is usually
time frames. You
7
can
to
go
8:30,
anytime within
depending
that
on the
time
nautical
frame,
schedule.
usually.
If you're eating on the ship, it's usually 1 to 2:30.
Breakfast is
something like that.
usually 7 to
Dinner is
8:30,
usually a set
depending on the
time.
nautical
It's,
schedule if you're eating on the ship.
the
It's usually
happy
1 to
hour is usually
2:30, something like
6:30
that.
to 7:30,
Dinner's
maybe
usually a
6
set
to
time.
7.
It's
And then you start dinner.
the happy hour is
usually
usually
90 minutes, and then after dinner is the entertainment in the lounge, right? And dinner is the only one where we are looking for everyone to be seated at the same time, but the other 2 meals don't have to be.
I thought it was fascinating when Amy came home and said that, there isn't like commercial traffic on the Douro. and that this is pleasure, basically all pleasure craft, right?
Right.
So, and you are only daylight sailing allowed. And that to get the illuminations cruise, the captain actually gets special permission. So it's really, really very special experience.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other questions
Go
I
ahead.
want to ask to the hike to the village. I think it's Pinhao they was talking about maybe. And should you wish to have a more active exploration in, it says in Spain. Terry asked it, Teresa Matrowski.
Well,
What is that hike?
Pinhao is on the Douro in Portugal.
I know.
Salamanca, maybe.
Salamanca
Oh,
when she
Salamanca.
asked, 'cause now
There
she's
are
saying,
opportunities. There'll be opportunities for you to hike and walk more. Usually, when we're doing, something that typically requires a coach, there's usually, not always, because it's going to be a year from now, but as of now, the cruise manager will say for those who want a more active experience, you can leave earlier and hike to the village, right? And they might give you a map of how to get there just so you don't get lost or something like that. But I've done that. I've done that in France and other destinations. We hiked to a castle. They gave us like a 40-minute head start, and then they brought people up by coach. I did that in along the Seine River recently with my wife, and it was great. It was worthwhile. So yeah, there will be those opportunities. Remember, uh, you'll get another chance to be addressed by the cruise manager the first night on the ship. He or she will address everyone, and then they'll have a desk on the second level of the ship. They have their own desk. You can go up there and sit with them and ask them any questions you want and make any requests that you like as well.
And
there was a
Leslie
question
asked
earlier on. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, if there's stores available for local products shopping, I would say
Yes,
absolutely.
Amy, definitely. They did a lot of shopping.
Absolutely. Amy brought back some beautiful things. I was a beautiful necklace, a ring. It was really, really pretty. Yeah.
And
And
there's
then
that earlier question about the difference between AMA and Viking and Avalon. That's
So
always
I'll
a
give
fun
you
one.
I have good friends at both those companies and all the other river cruise lines. So first of all, our current chairman and our founder was the very first president of Viking. So he designed all of their ships in the 90s and early 2000s. Great company. In 2003, he left that company to start his own company. And before he was with Viking, he was with Uniworld. He started their river cruise product as well. So a very knowledgeable guy. Viking is a very popular cruise line. Everybody knows them. They're on TV a lot. They send a lot of direct mail. They're very, like I said, they're very popular. They would tend to put a fair amount of more additional guests on their ships. They usually include one tour per day, where we include multiple excursions at ports per day. So there's a difference there. We do tend to cost a little more than them. I would say somewhere between $500 and $800 more per person, but we include a lot more, and we include more at a higher level, same cuisines and wines and things like that. But they're a very good company. Avalon is a good company as well. They're a company that would be, I guess, they're one of our competitors. I mean, we consider our competitors to be actually Scenic and Uniworld a little bit. But we also see a lot of Avalon out there. The ships are very nice. They do a good job with their excursions as well. They sort of followed us down the path of doing more active excursions, and they carry bicycles now and so on and so forth. So they're a good company. But I don't see us competing with them as directly as we do with some other lines. And honestly, we don't really compete directly with Viking because it's a different product. It does come up in every presentation I do because everybody knows the name. Even my brother recently, who's retired, asked me, I'm no kidding, he asked me recently, he said he's looked into river cruises. He wants to know if me and my wife want to go on a Viking river cruise with him next year. And I said, have you forgotten where your brother works? I mean, come on, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that's how popular they are.
So
So
one thing that you guys definitely really cater to, particularly, is companies like us. So at Friendship, we do pride ourselves on our partners. So one thing that we really looked at was finding a product to go on. And why Amy went and tried this is we've been on Viking cruises, we've been on other river cruises. And we wanted to see what this experience might be like. I can tell you, Amy's impression was the rooms are larger. They are, in the balcony in particular, that cabin not only has the balcony, but it has that really nice section that's a reading area, full window. We call it a nook. You might have a different name for it, but there were those little things, the sip and sail. So there's not quite, I wouldn't say nickel and diming, but sometimes there's like a lot, there are other extras that kind of cost you. Here, you're paying your price, you're on this trip, and you're going to have the experience already for you. And I think that the size of this particular ship, only holding 100 people, if you compare it to other ships that do the similar river, their ships are generally 120.
Right.
So it's, that's where kind of these difference. So we weighed this when we chose this product. And the other thing that AMA or AMA does that's a little bit different is they work specifically with tour operators. And so that is a different business. We know what our clients want and need. And so doing that pre-tour, they were really willing to do some special things for us and make it the way we wanted this trip. And that's actually really why we do feel like with our golden year, we should have a golden product. And that's why we actually picked this one. So I hope that helps kind of answer that question.
That's some great perspective, Brett. And I will say this without getting into detail, but we do love tour operator business and we like retail travel business. We don't really do much direct business with customers. We like working with tour operators because you're really good at what you do. And I wasn't really involved in this process, but I know for a fact because you've contracted so many staterooms of the ship, more than half the ship, that you got a very competitive rate, and you're offering something now that your guests on this call couldn't replicate elsewhere, right? You couldn't
Right.
go to another cruise line and get these rates because you said, I'll bring you X amount of business if you do this for me, and
Right.
then we want you to customize the experience, right? So I think I agree with you 1,000%, Brett. We love working with tour operators, and we just this is going to be a great experience for your clients.
Excellent. Well, I know we're pretty much right at 6 o'clock. I don't want to take too much time, but if anybody has any other questions, we're here as long as you need. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point.